Welcome to Astrology Valley, where we uncover the secrets of the universe and bring them straight to you. In this reading, we'll be looking at the question, should you stay in your current relationship? Congratulations on picking the 10 tarot cards that will answer your love related question. Of course, that question again is should you stay in your current relationship? Let me slowly reveal the 10 cards to you and answer your question in detail. The way that this is going to work is I'm going to flip over each card one at a time. With each card I flip over, I'm going to give you a detailed description of that card. Once all the cards have been flipped over, I will tell you what those cards are saying together, and the cards combined will provide us an answer to your question. And that question again is, should you stay in your current relationship? Let's get started with this reading. Of course, starting first with the first card. The first card that we have here is Justice. And justness is fairness, truth, and the exercise of the law. And this card of karmic retribution as well. What you get is a direct result of your actions. This card represents cause and effect, clarity, and truth. Of course, should you stay in your current relationship? That does depend on the cause and effect. It depends on what is fair. It also depends on what has transpired in this relationship to lead you to this question of whether or not to stay or go. It's interesting that we got a card of judgment first, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're making a judgment right now. You're making a judgment of whether or not this relationship is worth keeping, whether or not you should stay, or whether or not you should go. Let's take a look at the next card that we have here. The next card that we have here is the Four of Cups. Now, the Four of Cups represents being so deep in contemplation and thought that you sometimes ignore the gifts that the world gives you. The potential joys that are laid at your feet can be ignored. Even though your intentions may be noble, you run the risk of treating the world with apathy. This card represents, of course, apathy, contemplation, and disconnectedness. Now, is the reason why you're thinking about leaving the relationship or contemplating whether or not you should stay in the relationship is because you and your partner may not be showing the same attention or the same interest that you may have experienced before? Are you and your partner distracted by other things in life that are preventing you from having that full experience with your relationship that you had before. These are all things that you need to think about and consider when making this decision of whether or not to stay or to go. And it's an important decision to make. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next card. The next card that we have here is the Seven of Swords. Now, the Seven of Swords represents deception. It represents deception being at work here. You might feel pressured to be dishonest in order to achieve your ambitions. Hoping that these lies have gone unnoticed, this card is a warning of how difficult that can be. This card represents deception, trickery, and turning a blind eye. Are there things about this relationship that you're lying about? Are there things about the relationship that have been lied to you? Has somebody else told you a lie? Has your partner lied to you? Are you aware of these lies, of these cracks in the foundation of the relationship, but are choosing to ignore them? Deception is one of the number one reasons why relationships end, why people leave their partners. Lies and deception, cheating, okay? And this is something that you have to look at. Of course, there has been relationships that have gone terribly. People cheating on people, lots of lies. But sometimes those relationships still survive and the people stay together despite the mistakes and the lies and the cheating. Communication is one of the primary ways to keep a relationship going. And of course, for you to be asking the question, should you stay in your current relationship, it means that there's most definitely been a communication breakdown. There's definitely been some lies going on, and nobody's innocent. Everybody lies a little. But really, what it matters in is how big the lie is, how much of a betrayal it could be. Let's take a look at the next card that we have here. The next card that we have here is the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles represents the immense amount of work that has already been done and the effort that has been put in previously. That effort could be ready to harvest. The crop could be ready. And even though the crop may be ready, there is still more work to be done. And it is now a time to focus on diligence before one can reap the rewards. This card represents hard work, it represents perseverance, it represents diligence. Now, this card represents a farmer. And that's why, the description was all about farming and, of course, working hard. But farming is about planting seeds over time. It's about taking care and watering. I hate to use this comparison, but I'm going to. A relationship is like a plant. It has to be watered. It has to be taken care of. The work is never done. But know that you and your partner has already put in a tremendous amount of work on this relationship. And when making the final decision of whether or not you want to end the relationship or not, now the cards will give us a recommendation of whether or not you should stay in the relationship. But really look at things carefully. Look at all the time and effort that you've put in. Look at how far that you've gone. Look at what you've achieved so far. Pay close attention to that. And understand that just because you've put in all the hard work doesn't mean that it's over. There's more work to be done. Relationships are a constant building process. It's not like you get married and it's over. Well, a lot of people think that. You get married and it's over. But it's not. Marriage is just a symbol. Being together as a couple, being exclusive, all of these are symbols. Symbols of respect, symbols of loyalty. And that respect and loyalty needs to be shown on a regular basis on both sides. So think about all that you've built, but know that there's still more work to be done. Let's take a look at the last card that we have here in this row. And the card that we got is the World. Let's talk about the world and its meaning, okay? The world, it represents absolute unity. It represents perfection. It represents accomplishment that draws from the inner and outer sources. This card signals the harmony of the inner and outer worlds. In reaching a level of enlightenment, an era of one's life is complete, and there is joy and celebration that is coming to welcome it. This card represents fulfillment, it represents harmony, and it represents completion. That's interesting, isn't it? That we got a card that talks about happiness, everything being fantastic, everything being good, the universe being on your side. This card talks about a cycle, but it also talks about things being completed. Something interesting to think about. Perhaps this card is hinting at the fact that you've accomplished a great deal in this relationship. And maybe, sometimes, relationships just run their course and are meant to end at a certain time. Of course, we won't know for sure until we see the rest of the cards as we move forward what the true meaning here is. This card also talks about a lot of positive things as well. But the following cards are going to decide whether or not they're talking about it being good and now it's over, or it continuing to be good and continuing. How many more times can I say continuing? Continuing, 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 continuing. Love that word. Okay, anyway. Enough of being silly. Let's look at the next card. Okay. This next card is great. This card is fantastic, right? Let's talk about this card right now. This card is the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune represents greater forces that are outside of human control being at work here. The same forces that govern the changing of the seasons or the rising and setting of the sun is also the master of luck and fate of individuals. This card represents the challenges and cycles. Its lesson, what comes up must go down, and what goes down must come up. This card represents changes, cycles, and inevitable fate. Well, when I see the Wheel of Fortune card, it definitely talks about a turn of fortune. Now, usually when you need luck, when you're doing a reading, especially about this topic, whether or not you should stay in your current relationship or leave, it probably means that the relationship is in a more negative position. This card here actually talks about a turn of fortune. In fact, a turn of good fortune. Things getting better. Okay? Very positive card. I'm actually excited that we've pulled this card because it speaks volumes for things potentially moving forward in a positive way. Now, we won't know for sure until we pull the remaining cards, but let's go ahead and find that out by flipping the next card. The next card that we have here is Judgment, and let's talk about Judgment right now. Judgment indicates the cusp of rebirth. In order to achieve that, you must look back upon your deeds and come to an honest evaluation of yourself. This leads to an awakening that signals a new way of life. Judgment represents reflection, reckoning, and inner voice. Well, one of the things that's kind of really important about this card, and one of the things that I'm going to mention about this card, is this card talks about things coming back to life. This card talks about rebirth. It talks about resurrection. It talks about being in the process of judging whether or not to continue, whether or not to bring things back. Now, note that in any relationship, you do experience loss. Loss does happen. Things do change. People evolve over time. You might not be the same person that you used to be at the beginning of this relationship. Your partner might not be the same person that they used to be at the start of this relationship. But this card talks about rebirth, always bringing things back, okay? Things have to be renewed. You can't continue doing the same thing all the time and expect the same results. That's not the way the world works. You have to constantly be planting new seeds, taking care of the garden, weeding, watering, allowing the relationship to flourish and grow like a plant. Let's take a look at the next card that we have here. And the next card that we have here is the Moon. Now, night is the time when dreams and fantasies rule. The moon also represents instincts that we have built in our unconscious. They come out to play in the moonlight, but the reflections that we see springing forth can also be illusions. It is easy to lose your way in the dark. Dreams and fantasies play a crucial part in one deciding whether or not they are happy in their relationship, whether or not they want to move forward in that relationship. Oftentimes, fantasies are just that, fantasies. They're not reality. They are just something that we imagine. And a lot of people get carried away with their dreams and fantasies. And they imagine a better life, a better relationship, a better circumstance. Think about this one. What if the relationship that you're in right now is the best relationship that you'll ever find? What if by ending this relationship, you're going to go out there and never find something this good again? Knowing that there's probably a high probability of failure, would you give this relationship another chance? Do you really know for sure that those dreams and fantasies that you have of a better relationship or a better life are true? Do your dreams and fantasies have the possibility to be reality? Or are they just your imagination? Your mind wanting something better that may not be attainable? This is something to really think about. A lot of relationships end because people imagine a better life. and they break up with that person, and they ruin that previous life that they have in the process. And they discover that what they have is actually a lot more difficult to achieve a second time. Let's take a look at the next card that we have here. This is another pretty powerful card. This one is the Four of Wands, and we're going to talk about this right now. The Four of Wands basically represents a celebration of harmony, happiness, and good relationship. It's a time of peace after a period of hard work. The Four of Wands usually indicates this is in regards to family or a large group of people. This card represents community, home, and celebration. What if I told you that if you put in more work and effort into the relationship, that it'll get better? Would you believe me? Have you already put in more work, time, and effort than you're willing to? Are you at the point where you're ready to give up? If you have any fight left, if there's any love left, if you feel like you can try a little bit harder and give it one more shot, isn't it worth trying? This card indicates positive things. This card indicates overcoming obstacles. This card represents a happy family. Some tarot card readers view this card as the marriage card, the relationship happiness card. And we pulled this card. It's not the last card, it's the second last card. But it's a powerful card to be at the end of a reading. Let's take a look at the next card that we have here. And of course, the last card for this reading is the King of Wands. Four of Wands, King of Wands. Okay, let's talk about the King of Wands. The King of Wands represents a person having great vision and leadership and all of the drive and understanding to create their vision. They lead and inspire others with their passion. Unstoppable passion. This card represents the big picture. This card represents a leader. And most importantly and crucially in this reading, it represents overcoming challenges. Are you ready for what the cards are saying together? Are you ready to find out whether or not the cards think you should stay in your current relationship or let it go? Do you really want to know? Okay, let's talk about this and what the cards are saying here. The first card that we have here is Justice, which represents having justice. It represents good karma. The next card that we had here talked about missing opportunities or focusing too much on one thing and missing out. Are there things about your relationship that you're just not seeing that could lead it in a positive direction? Is your view on the relationship being altered in some way? Are you only seeing the relationship for what it is now rather than what it could be? Of course, we know that the Seven of Swords represents deception and trickery, but the real question is, are you deceiving yourself? Are you deceiving your partner, or is your partner deceiving you? Deception is not a good thing in a relationship. In fact, lying hurts communication. But know that given time, if you take care, if you communicate properly in a relationship, you can build the relationship up, rebuild the relationship. Of course, the Seven of Pentacles here is right next to the Seven of Swords for a reason. Deception and trickery, 7. Seven of Pentacles. Rebuilding, regrowing. You can rebuild and grow that trust. You can rebuild and grow that connection. All it takes is effort. All it takes is belief. A little time, a little effort. The universe is behind you on this. The world is behind you. Good things, good energy. I don't think that this relationship, honestly, is over. I think that you should stay. We got the Wheel of Fortune, which talks about luck changing. We got the Judgment card, which talks about rejuvenation and resurrection. This card here, let's talk about the visuals of this card for a moment. An angel is blowing a horn, and all of these naked people are standing up. Well, guess what? These aren't naked people. They're dead bodies coming back to life. That's the rejuvenation. That's the resurrection. Okay? You can bring this relationship back. In fact, you can bring it to a point that it's even better than what it was before. We have the moon, which represents dreams and fantasies. Now, dreams and fantasies can be a good thing, and they could be a real bad thing. If you're fantasizing about somebody else or something else, or even having negative dreams and fantasies about terrible things happening, you could change your perspective and warp your view on what's actually going on. Of course, having dreams and fantasies about your current partner and imagining how to make things better and what you can achieve for your future, that's good and positive energy. But don't let fantasies of what could be if you broke up motivate you to break up, because you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you'll be able to find a better relationship, maybe not. You don't know for sure. But don't let your dreams and fantasies convince you that you definitely will find something better, because we don't know. Let's talk about the two cards here at the end and the important significance to it. Family celebration. As well, the last card, the King of Wands. In that card, talking about overcoming challenges, I do believe that you can overcome this obstacle, whatever obstacles that are in the way for you. I do believe that you can overcome the challenge and you can restore that happy relationship. And if the relationship was never happy, you can get there. You can get there. It just takes time and effort and belief. You might say that your relationship isn't good. You might say that your relationship is far from perfect. You may even say your relationship is bad. Okay? But until you give up, the relationship is a success. Until you or your partner give up on the relationship and leave, it's still a successful relationship because you're both together. Now, based on the cards, it's telling me to tell you to stay. But of course, you have free will. You have a choice. And you have to carefully think about all of the things that we talked about in this reading, and carefully think about what it is that happens next in your life in this important decision. Should you stay in your current relationship, the cards are very much pointing to this being yes, and giving it one more try, maybe two more tries, okay? The cards see success in the way. Now, the card Cards the cards show that relationship isn't perfect. The relationship may not be perfect, but that's okay. You can work to make it better. And of course, after you carefully think about everything, if you still think that you should leave the relationship, do note that you have the ability to make that choice. You can. But know that the cards are in favor to you staying. That's it for this reading. On behalf of Astrology Valley, I'd like to thank you, and I wish you the best moving forward.